Hello everyone and welcome to this week's Game Development Log video diary, and this week I've been adding a few new species into Equilinox. So first up this week I added the oak tree back into the game, and this time I took a little bit more care with the tree's settings, so they now have a much longer average life than things like grass and sheep, and they also tend to have fairly small populations of around 4 or 5 trees in any given area. I also created a few new model stages for the oak tree, as you can see here. So now when you plant the tree, it starts off as just a sapling, and it then slowly grows and changes to the other model stages over time. The other species that I added into the game this week was this berry bush here. This bush grows well in grassy areas, and after it's fully grown it starts to produce berries. Firstly just a few berries and then a few more. This will of course act as a food source for some smaller animals, and unlike the grass this will be a renewable food source because the berries will grow back after a while instead of being destroyed forever like the grass. To implement this fruit producing mechanic I did have to make a couple of little changes to the rendering system, because up until now I'd always just had set model stages like this which I would store in memory one after another, and then when the object gets rendered it simply has to select the correct model stage data to render. However, with the berries, these were more like additions to the previous model stage rather than a model stage of their own, so I had to alter the system a little bit to allow the renderer to recognise that these stages are additions, and then render them together with a previous model stage. Next up, I finally started working on death animations so that when entities die, they don't just instantly disappear from the world like this. Instead, I've now set up a system which allows an entity to carry out some sort of animation after it's died, but before it gets removed from the scene. To give you an example of this, I've created a few simple test animations which I'll be improving on next week, but here you can see that the sheep, when they die, they now fall over and then fade out. The grass just fades out when it dies, except for when it gets eaten by a sheep, in which case it explodes into some green particles. And of course I'll be improving on these and adding a few more death animations into the game next week. Other than that, this week I just worked on a load of little behind the scenes tweaks and changes and improvements to the entity system code which I can't really show you, but thanks to a suggestion in the comments of last week's video I've now started using a website called Trello to keep track of everything that I'm currently working on, and I was actually able to make this board public. So if you're interested, you can now take a look at this by following the link in the description, and if you go to the menu and then go to archived items, you can actually see a list of every single tiny little update that I've made this week. So if that's something that would interest you, you can check that out at any time to see what I'm working on. So that is pretty much it for this week. Next week I'll be working a little bit more on fruit producing plants and allowing fruit to fall off the trees, and I'm also of course going to be adding a few new species into the game. Before I finish this week, I need to give a massive thank you to the top Patreon supporters for this month, who are Jerry Bradshaw, Benjamin Fuller, Danny D, Blue Nova and Crazy Rusky, so thank you so much to you guys for your incredible support. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching this video. Do subscribe if you haven't already. Have an amazing week, and I will see you all next time.